Hi, I'm Deborah Roth from Spirited Living, and once again, I am here for my monthly spiritual energy theme that I'm offering you every month in collaboration with the Wellness Universe. If you don't know the Wellness Universe, definitely check them out, thewellnessuniverse.com. It is a wonderful resource for all kinds of, obviously, wellness practitioners and products, and it's really quite wonderful. I've been involved with them for probably about a year and a half now. So, if you didn't get to this video via them, definitely please go check them out. So this month, our spiritual energy theme is creative communication. Now, how I get to these every month, those of you that know me know that I am a major moon mama. Not only am I a Cancer, which is ruled by the moon, but I've facilitated women's moon circles and meditations, new moon circles, full moon meditations, and still do for the last 20 plus years. But what I'm doing with this series is really bringing us into the solar energy and what zodiac sign the sun is moving through each month. So right now we're looking at Gemini, and the sun moved into Gemini on, May 20th. And Gemini is the planet of communication. It's actually the planet of the mind. Last month we were looking at honoring our bodies with Taurus, with the Taurus solar energy. And now we're looking at how we can celebrate our beautiful, brilliant minds and how they help us to communicate, how we use them both, how we use our minds both to relate to people personally, professionally, and I'll give you some ideas about how to do that today. So, a little bit more about Gemini, and then I'll give you some kind of tips. So Gemini is ruled by the planet Mercury, who was also the god of messages. He was the messenger god, eloquence, travel, and he was also considered, interesting word, the psychopomp. He was the only god who could move freely between the world of the mortals, of the living, and the underworld. And he was a guide for souls that had died and moved to the underworld, that were transitioning to the underworld. So that was yet another, not quite having to do with mental stuff, but I always think that's kind of fascinating to know about Mercury. Gemini is an air sign. All air signs, and the other ones are Libra and Aquarius, really are about the mind and how we use our thoughts and our words and how we communicate what we're thinking, speaking, writing, however we do that. Mercury is also just, I keep saying Mercury, Gemini is also just a very sociable, friendly sign, energy. It's the symbol of the symbol for Mercury is the twins. And so they're always communicating and curious and relating to people and each other. The downside can be that they can be a little too flitty. They could be, when the sun is in Gemini, and anyone who's born with, the sun in Gemini can be super, uber rational, in their heads. So it's always good. And when you know the rest of your astrology chart, you know that there are other things that are always going to balance that out. The other interesting thing that's happening right now is that Mercury went retrograde on May 29th and will be retrograde for the next 3 weeks. And because it is the ruler of Gemini, it's something we should all kind of be aware of, because it does influence how we communicate with others. We want to keep our communication creative, loving, positive. So it's always a good idea during Mercury retrograde to pay particular attention to your communication. It's also a time during Mercury retrograde where you can reconnect, where you can communicate with people from your past. People may be showing up from the past. Think of all the retro things that happen, meaning reviewing and renegotiating and recycling, all those kinds of things that can happen during a Mercury retrograde. So getting back to, and all of those apply as we're looking at this Gemini season, as I call it, and Gemini will move, the sun will move through Gemini until the summer solstice, until June 21st. So some ideas, some thoughts about what you can do with this energy in your personal life. It's a great time for writing love notes, and speaking, all the things that represent how you can express yourself creatively. Write a love poem. I mean, talk about, creative communication to, yes, your loved one, your partner, but also telling your kids what you appreciate about them, your mother, your father, people that are important in your life. This Gemini energy will really help you to find the words, tap into it, ask for a little bit of guidance from Mercury for some of his eloquence. One of the ways that you can, very specifically, that you can use this communication in your relationships and your intimate relationships is you can Google communication map from the Relationship Coaching Institute. And it literally outlines ways to go through what could be a difficult conversation with someone that you care about, and keep it on the upper level. Keep it in a way that's helpful and beneficial and loving for both of you. So that's one of the tools. Another thing, another one from John Gottman, who's this wonderful relationship expert, wrote a book that I recommend to all the couples that I marry, 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. He talks about telling the story of us, sitting down, and really you can do this. Telling stories is a wonderful Gemini-inspired way to communicate creatively. Yes, in an intimate relationship, telling your story of how you met and how your relationship is developed can be very affirming and may even bring you back from a place where you feel like you're not connecting with each other. But I will tell you, storytelling is also, children love it. My granddaughter, my 4-year-old granddaughter, whenever we have dinner together, which is fairly often, said, "Tell me a story, Grammy, about fill in the blanks." This is a great time to do that as well during the Gemini season. If you want to really enhance whatever communicating you're doing, essential oils, rosemary and basil, are great for stimulating the mind. I had both of those going when I was writing my master's thesis years and years ago. And I don't know if it helped, but it sure smelled good and made me feel like I was doing something. Stimulates the brain. Peppermint, any of the mints are another one that are great for that. You could also, to stimulate your mind, take a class in improv, in public speaking, or play charades. Or there's a wonderful game that my kids did it when they were little, that they have for all ages, called Brain Quest. So all those things that get you using your mind, which then, any reading, any sort of communication skills kind of game or exercise is going to help you communicate better. So that's personal. Obviously, there are a bunch of things in there that you could bring to work too. What in the work arena, in terms of creative communication, one of the wonderful things that I love to recommend to people is a book by Judith Glaser called Conversational Intelligence. How's that sound for fitting our theme of creative communication this month? It's really about, the bottom line in this book, and it's written for the work world, it's written for organizations and leaders, is how to really create trust, and by being your authentic self, by speaking in a way and treating people from a place of compassion. She's got something that she calls the STAR skills, and included in those are building rapport and active listening and all the things that we know, asking smart questions that we know are really important to connect with people more deeply, as opposed to, if you're a salesperson, just going in and, throwing stuff at them. So that's one thought. Another is using mind maps. Now, that's not necessarily, it's the mental side of Gemini. It's not exactly the communication side of Gemini, but it is a way to take your thoughts and to strategize about a project. And again, you can Google that. There's wonderful, it is a creative way to use your mind, if not how to communicate. And certainly once you kind of come to the bottom line in whatever project that you're strategizing. The last one that I'll recommend for you is when you're at work, if you're with teams, whether you're on Zoom or not, And you've got a brainstorming session coming up to really play around with and suss out some new project or idea or vision. Brainstorming often is when everybody's just throwing their ideas at each other and not necessarily listening to each other. There's a wonderful technique called yes and. And again, you can use this in any communication, work or otherwise, where when someone suggests something, no matter how outlandish, instead of pushing back, think for a minute, find one thing, say, yes, I like that idea of, crossing the street with your eyes closed. It's kind of creative and different. And I'd suggest that you have somebody holding your hand. That's kind of a silly example, but think about that when you're really looking to really connect in a way that's meaningful. Try that. So those are just a bunch of my little suggestions for how to really connect to this Gemini energy this month, this creative communication time that we're in. And then we'll be back here next month and look at creating safe and beautiful spaces to create a sense of home when the sun moves into Cancer. Thanks so much for being with me, and looking forward to hearing what kind of things bubble up for you. Bye for now.